Hello, and welcome to Really Big Hat. My name is Jared, and this is something special. First and foremost, this is Tabletop Simulator, which is cool in and of itself. Great game, a lot of fun stuff you can do here. For my part, I've been using it to make my own original custom card game. So, in a sense, this is Tabletop Simulator, but really, this is Blitzkeep. This video is going to be a teaser of sorts for Blitzkeep. I will be putting it on the Steam Workshop probably sometime soon. I would estimate within the next week, although I'm not going to swear to that. Right now, I have about 50 unique cards. I would like to more or less double that number before I release it on the workshop for public consumption, for everybody to test it out, play around with it, and get some feedback on the game as a broader whole. But this is just going to be, as I said, it's a teaser. It's going to be a, hey, look at this cool thing I made. Here's how to play it. Here's what it looks like. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So I do have this table set up more or less how I envision I'll have it set up in the workshop upload. I've got a couple of copies of the rules on either side here. I've got a little box here that's going to contain every single card, so you can just pull that out. And yeah, the number here says 143, but that is because I have the maximum number of each card that you can put in a deck. So if both players just take out this entire pile, they can just take out full sets of whatever card they want to run. And like I said, I've got about 50 ones that are actually unique. Some of these are duplicates of the same card with different art, so the number gets a little screwy there, but yeah, that's this is how the table's going to look. And yeah, like I said, I've got the rules here and here. I've got them up here in the notebook, so it'll be easy to read up on how the game is supposed to be played and test it out. But for now, I'm not going to bother reading the rules here. I'm just going to explain as I go along, and I'm just going to get a game set up here. So the first thing you do is you'll construct your own deck. This is going to be a deck building game. I will, of course, leave some pre-constructed decks on the table for people to just grab and go. So I'm just going to grab one of these decks for either player, and I'm just going to slot them right here. Both players also get a keep. That goes in the centermost square of your back row, and this is what you'll be defending. If the keep reaches 0 HP, it's destroyed and you lose. So the objective of the game, one of the ways to win, is to destroy your opponent's keep. The other two ways to win are to deck your opponent out of cards. So if their deck reaches 0, if they either draw their last card or discard their last card, they lose on the spot. And there's also a third victory type, which is a bit more defensive and strategic. That is the structure victory, where you have to fill all 7 spaces in the back row of your territory horizontally here with structures, which is one of the types of cards in the game. The 2 victory types that are really on the table for these 2 decks that I've constructed here are destroying the keep for this deck, and this deck also does have the potential to do a structure victory. I would really only anticipate losing by discard to be if the game really stalls out and slows down, and I've never witnessed a game devolve to that point. Usually it's going to be a specific strategy of putting cards in your deck that manually discard the opponent's cards to go for that type of victory. But that's just a bit of an overview of what to expect from these decks, so let's actually just get started playing. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle both of these decks a few times. Really, one would do, but I just like seeing the little graphic go. And to start the game, both players are going to draw 3 cards off the top of your deck, and this will be the only time in the game that you actually have cards in your hand. That's a pretty unique aspect of Blitzkeep, and you'll see how that actually plays out as the game gets started. So I'm not going to think too much about the strategic placement or anything like that for too many of these. I'm just going to put them down, and different card types have different rules for deployment. All three of these were units, so when you deploy a unit, a weapon, or a utility, it has to go in an adjacent space next to a structure in your territory. To start the game, that's only going to be the keep. When you're playing structures, they have to also go adjacent to another structure, but they have to go either vertically or horizontally adjacent. They can't be placed diagonally. There's also another deployment rule with units where during gameplay, this is after the setup step. So on your turn, if you draw a unit off the top of your deck, you can also play it next to another unit in your territory, even if it doesn't wind up adjacent to a structure. You can play a new unit off the top of your deck next to another unit that is in your territory, as long as the new one is also played in your territory. So those are the rules for deployment there. But let's just flip over to the other player here, get their hand drawn, and get the game started. So let's shuffle again, just because I like to see that go. Draw 3 cards. Okay. So I'm going to put this guy over here, put this guy over here, and I'm going to put this guy in the middle. So, to start the game, both players will flip up all of their cards at the same time. And this is also the only part of the game where you'll have cards face down at all. Because in addition to flipping all of the cards you just put face down, face up, you also flip your deck face up. You play with the top of your deck visible, and your opponent is allowed to look at the top of your deck to see what each other is about to draw as well. So that is an element of the strategy, is not just to consider what they have out on the board, but also what they're about to have. So, to get started here, once you flip face up, you tally up the total speed stat of all of your cards. So that is 1, 1, and 2. So the zombies here have a total of 4 speed, and the dwarves have 2, 2, and 2 for a total of 6. So the dwarves are going to move first. Oh, while I'm here, let's go ahead and get these set up. I like to keep track of the keep HP with these d20s. Keep has 20 HP, largely for that reason. But yeah, let's flip back over to the dwarves, get them set up as well. Their d20 here to track their HP. Boop, bada boop. And we're all set to start. So the dwarves are going first, and the first thing on your turn is you get one of these army counters. These can be used for different things. Certain card effects can spend them to activate their effects. Certain cards will have different effects if you've collected a certain number of army counters. And there are also global effects for army counters. You can trade 3 of them in to get another action on your turn. A player has 3 actions on their turn usually, so they can trade in 3 army counters at a time to get an additional action for each 3. And you can control a total of 12. So if you had all 12, you could trade all of those in and get 4 extra actions on your turn, which would be a huge momentum swing. Also, once you get to 6 army counters, you're allowed to draw at any time during your turn. But we'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing, you do get one of the army counters. Like I said just before, a player has 3 actions on each of their turns. You can use one of those actions to move a card, and cards have different rules for movement, depending on their types. You can use an action to have one card attack another card. You can use an action to activate an effect of a card that has an activated effect. You can use an action to shuffle your deck, and you can use an action to draw a card. Drawing a card always has to be the last action you take on a turn until you get to 6 army counters. And as long as you control at least 6 army counters, you can actually interrupt your turn with a draw. Otherwise, it has to be the last action you take. On your first turn of the game, and this is the dwarf's first turn, drawing a card must be the final action you take on your first turn. After that, however, you can choose whether or not you actually want to draw a card at all. You don't have to draw a card every turn. And there is an element of strategy to that as well. You have to balance getting more cards in play to have more options versus actually using your actions aggressively to advance your board state like towards your opponent's keep. So there's a strategy element there as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into their turn, and I'm not going to try... I'm going to try not to overthink the strategic elements too much. Since I'm playing against myself, I can't exactly outsmart myself or try and force myself to make a mistake or anything like that that might be, viable strategies if you're playing a different person. So I'm just going to treat this as the test game that it is. I'm just going to do some of the more obvious moves as I see them in whatever the current game state is, and I'm just going to proceed in a pretty straightforward manner. Try not to spend too much time hemming and hawing about strategy. So let's actually just go ahead and get started. So I am going to be a little... I'm going to try and be a little aggressive here, I think. I'm actually going to... I'm going to have this Dwarf Ranger attack the Zombie Mage. The Ranger can attack from 2 spaces away, so he can attack across the center here. So, can he kill the Zombie Mage? I think he can. Because, yeah, it's 6 attack on 3 defense, so he's going to be doing 3 damage. The way combat usually works, typically you have to be adjacent to a card to attack it. This card has an effect that allows it to attack from further away. But usually, like let's say I had moved up with this Dwarf Berserker, I could then declare an attack on either of these 2 cards. Then, at damage calculation, if you have one of these arrows colored in red pointing at the card you're attacking, you do 1 extra damage at damage calculation. And that's even if you were going to do 0 damage. As long as you have an arrow pointing to the target of your attack and you're adjacent to it, you get to do 1 extra damage. So in this card's case, he is pointing that direction, but he is not adjacent. So you can't occupy this centermost space. So he is not going to get that directional attack bonus. So he's just going to be doing flat attack minus defense as damage. However, 2 of those hits will do 6 damage, and that will kill the Zombie Mage. So that's going to be... First 2 actions are going to be pop, pop. He's going to attack the Zombie Mage twice. He'll die and go to the discard there. And then the second half of this guy's effect is going to trigger. So he has attacked and destroyed an enemy unit, and we are now allowed to draw 2 cards with our draw action this turn. So we're going to get this Berserker here, and we're going to get our first structure. So this is the warehouse, and I'll just put it right here. That'll be fine. So that was a good first turn for the Dwarf deck here. See how the zombies respond. So first thing on their turn, get an army counter. And now they are a bit on the back foot, but they've got some of their stronger cards out here. Currently, this Crusher zombie is going to be at 8 attack, because zombies have 1 card in their discard, 0 in the dwarves, and this card gains 2 attack if you have more cards in your discard pile than your opponent. So he's getting up there, so I can make a pretty aggressive move with him. Question is that going to be enough? So if I moved up and attacked like one of the Berserkers, so 1, or maybe the Ranger to prevent that from happening again. Yeah, if I attack the Ranger with 8, that'll be 8 minus 4 plus 1, 5. Yeah, so I can one-shot the Ranger from here. Interesting. I think I will do that. It'll turn his attack power effect off, because now there will be equal cards in the discard of both decks, but I think it's still the right move, so he's going to declare his attack there. And another thing, when you declare an attack and destroy the card you were attacking, as long as you're adjacent to it again, like this guy was an exception to that, you have the option, as part of the resolution of that attack, to occupy their previous space. So he has the chance to move up here. That doesn't cost your movement for the turn, and it doesn't cost you an action. That's part of the attack's resolution. So the question is, does he want to move up here? It's very aggressive. It puts him in range to attack the Dwarf's Keep next turn, but he's also going to be very exposed to counterattacks. Thing is, though, the Keep, and I'll just zoom back to this one, it loses 1 attack for each allied card it points to, and it loses 1 defense for each opponent's card it points to. So currently, this Keep is pointing to 1, 2, 3 allied Dwarven cards, so it's all the way down to 3 attack. So it's not going to be able to defend itself very well against this Crusher Zombie here. Additionally, even though the Dwarf Berserkers have really good attack power, they're not pointing to him, so their attacks will be a little less efficient. I still think they can 2-tap him, though. But they could do that if he was back here as well, and then they'd be able to move up themselves. So I am going to have him take this space. So that was 1 and 2, and then this is their first turn, so they have to draw as their third action. So I am going to bring out the Screaming Banshee, and I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to try not to give these Berserkers a tempting target to move up and attack. Yeah. So that'll be the Zombies' first turn. And they will pass back to the Dwarf deck. So first things first, get an army counter. Boop. And then, like I said, the Dwarves are going to have to deal with this Crusher Zombie, or else he's going to get some free attacks on the Keep. So I do think the right play is to just have the Berserker here to tap them. Yeah. So it's going to be bop bop. It's going to kill the Crusher Zombie. And I am going to have the Berserker take his space. Again, that was 7 attack, 4 defense, so he was doing 3 damage a swing, 6 HP, so it would take 2 attacks. So that was their first 2 moves. Their next move, I believe, is going to be to draw a card. So I'm going to get this Swordsman out. I'm going to plop him down here. Start turtling up some defenses on this side of the board, because that's where the zombies are currently amassing. But that'll be their turn. I'm going to pass back to the zombies. Boop. So they get an army counter at the start of their turn. And now they are going to have to start trying to get some work done here. They're going to have to start getting aggressive. So what I can do, this Screaming Banshee is a way to get some offensive headway and some defensive synergy at the same time. So I'm going to move them up. And then attacks 2 and 3 are actually going to be to activate this card's effect. So it can use an action to deal 3 damage to a unit it points to. Then, if that unit is destroyed, you can immediately play a zombie from your discard. So that was my first action to move, and it's going to take 2 of those actions to kill either of these 2 cards that they're pointing to. But once they do that, you get a zombie. You can play, it'll be either the Mage or the Crusher Zombie is going to come back out of the discard. So I think I want to get rid of the Swordsman. It's a little bit more of a offensive and defensive threat than the Explorer. The Explorer is kind of more of a utility card. So I'm going to bop bop, activate the effect twice to kill the Swordsman. As it dies, that was the zombie's third action, so they won't have the other action draw. And they could play one of these 2 zombies from their discard. The question is, which one do I want? The Mage is interesting because it can just put some pressure on the Keep. And the Crusher Zombie isn't going to have its effect active right now, but it could. I'll go for the Crusher Zombie, and I'll play it here. I will, yeah. But that's going to be the zombie's turn. That was 1 to move, and then 2 and 3 to activate the effect twice. And they're going to have to pass. So it's back to the dwarves. They get an army counter at the start of their turn. And now that they have 3, they can spend those 3 to get an extra action if they want to take a bit more control of the momentum. The counterplay to that is if your opponent has 3 army counters and you spend your 3 to get an extra action, they can respond to that by spending their 3 to prevent you from getting that action. But since the dwarves went first and they get to 3 before the zombies do, this is a window to spend those without getting the action taken away. Which, of course, the caveat to that is then, on the zombies' next turn, they're going to get to 3, and they're going to be able to respond with their own extra actions, so it's a bit of a give and take there. Decks that have more effects that synergize with army counters are going to have a little bit of a different strategy to that as well. Neither of these decks have too much of that. This Dwarf Explorer can get some army counters as part of her effect. But anyway, I have another Ranger on top, which pretty good card. So the Banshee there is a pretty relevant offensive threat. Being able to do 3 damage to any unit it points to as an action puts it up there with some of the better attackers anyway. And getting zombies back out of the grave as part of that effect is also pretty good. So it would probably behoove me to deal with that. I could 2-tap it with the Explorer. The other play is to kind of get aggressive on this side of the board, move up with the Berserker, go through the Crusher zombie, start going after the keep, because I could also 2-tap the Crusher zombie with the Berserker, so that would be 1, 2, 3 to kill him, take his space, and then I could potentially spend the army counters, get another action, make an attack on the keep. But I think I want to leave that in my back pocket. I am actually going to have the Explorer declare 2 attacks on the Screaming Banshee there. So, that's going to be 5 attack on 4 defense, but at points, so it's going to be doing 2 damage each hit, 4 HP, going to take 2 hits. So, bop, bop. Screaming Banshee goes to the discard. And I am going to have the Explorer occupy the Banshee's previous space as part of the second attack's resolution. And then I think I'm going to activate the Explorer's effect. It's going to destroy itself, and I'm going to get army counters equal to the number of rows away from your keep it was. So currently that is 1, 2. So I can destroy it to get 2 more army counters. So I think I'm actually going to do that, because it's kind of exposed right there anyway, so I'm gonna go for that. I'm gonna boop, use my third action, destroy it, get 2 army counters. And then I'm gonna immediately spend 3 to get another action, and I'm gonna use that action to draw. And I'm gonna take this I think I'm gonna take the Ranger. Just trying to decide where to put him. I'm going to put him over here in the back row, actually. Yeah. Okay, so that was a pretty interesting turn. Still feeling each other out a lot. And I'm going to pass there. So I'll pass over to the zombies. They'll get an army counter at the start of their turn. Just 1, please. Oops. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I like to put them this way, but yeah. So, they got 2, dwarves have 3, so the Crusher Zombie is not active right now. Doesn't have his attack boost currently. I'm going to have this Orc start moving up and getting into attack position if he can. So 1 is going to be able to move him into the battlefield. Also, I don't remember if I've addressed this. It costs units 2 spaces of movement to enter the battlefield. So, like, from this guy's previous position, I can spend both of his movement. Units can move 2 spaces, either vertically or horizontally. I don't even know if I covered that. Yeah. But it costs both spaces of movement to move from your territory into the battlefield for the first time. So I can have him move straight up using his full movement and end in the battlefield, but I couldn't from here go like 1, 2 and go into the battlefield there, because from here it would still cost 2 more movement and he only has 2. So, yeah. So, first action is going to be moving him into the battlefield. Second action, I'm going to start swinging at the Berserker, I believe. Because that'll be, what, 4 HP a swing? 6 minus 3, 3 plus 1, 4, yeah. So I am going to use the next 2 swings to bop kill the Berserker. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. Going to crash through and take one of the Berserkers off the board. I am not going to take his space. I'm going to stay right there with the zombie orc, I think. The other option would be to take his space right now and then spend the 3 army counters that I have to make a swing at the keep, which would be a pretty good swing, because he gets to attack against structures. You know what? Actually, I am going to do that. Yeah, I was thinking I might try and save him for next turn, because currently they don't have anything that can... No, yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think my first instinct was right. I'm going to stay here and wait for next turn. Because, well, maybe. Then again, no, they could bring the Berserker over and bop him. Yeah, no, so I am going to go in right now. Yep, okay. After looking at it again, I'm going to spend the 3 to get another action. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then that those army counters are going to give me 4, which is going to be an attack on the keep. It loses 1 defense for each enemy card is pointing to. Right now, that's just this 1 zombie orc. But he gets to attack when battling structures, so that's 8 attack on 4 defense, plus 1 because he points. That's going to be 5 damage. 5 damage to the Dwarf's Keep. I'm going to go ahead and just flip over here and then adjust it. Because if I did it while I was facing the other way, the 15 would be upside down when I come back here. That's just a little... it's a small thing, but it's important enough for me, so... but yeah, it then does swing back to the dwarf's turn. First things first, they get an army counter. And now they've got some decisions to make. Currently, this zombie orc can 3-tap the keep. So if I don't get rid of him right here, right now, it's game over. Like, so that's a good position for the zombies to be in. So I'm gonna have to kill him somehow, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way. Because currently, he's also in a bit of an awkward position for the dwarves to deal with. The keep here is down to 4 attack, because it's pointing to 2 allied cards. So it's not going to be a good attacker. It would just be doing the directional attack bonus and hitting for 1. That's not going to be good. This guy would also only be swinging for 1, because he has 6 attack on 5 defense and doesn't point to him. So really, the only good attacker is the Berserker. But if I move him directly over, he's also not going to have the directional attack bonus. But it would still be 7 on 5, so he's going to be doing 2 a swing. So I would need to move and then spend 3 attacks to kill the zombie orc there. And I think that's just what I'm going to have to... That's just going to be what I have to do here, is I'm going to have to spend these army counters for another action. And then it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 to get rid of that orc. And yeah, that's just going to be how I have to play it. I won't take his space. I'd rather be here than there. And that's just going to be the dwarf's turn. That was a very defensive, just get out of dodge moment. So, yep, back to the zombies. They get an army counter. Boop. And they've only got one card out right now, so gonna have to figure out the best way to use him right now. So zombies have 3, dwarves have 4, so Crusher is not getting his attack boost. But he could still 2-tap a Berserker. Question is, does he want to? Because that would spend all 3 actions. And then he'd be right in prime position for that ranger to take ranged attacks at him as well. Of course, it would take 3 of those to kill the Crusher zombie as well. So I guess the question is, do I want to be a little more defensive and just try and move into a place where this guy can't get to me and then draw a card and just set up my resources for further turns? Or do I want to be a little more aggressive, spend all of my actions to take one of their cards off the board, and then put them in pretty much the same position, having to decide whether to try and use their actions offensively or to just try and draw cards and get out of the current predicament. Thing is, the Shambling Zombie is not really the best card to draw right now either. If I had a better card on top of my deck, that would help make that decision. I could use an action to shuffle. Like, I could move, shuffle, and then draw. Okay. I'm going to be aggressive. 1, 2, 3. Bop, bop. Berserker dies. And I'm just going to have to pass a turn there. Boop. Okay. Dwarves get an army counter. And yeah, like I said, this is 6 on 4. Dozen points. It's going to be 2 damage a pop. That would take all 3 actions from the dwarves now to get that Crusher zombie off the board. So they're in a pretty similar spot. Do you use all 3 actions to eliminate the zombie's last, offensive card on the board and force them to draw next turn to get anything started, or to be a little more defensive? I think it's going to be the same response. The other thing I could do is move up and 2-tap him. I would spend the same actions. You know what? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to move up, and I am going to attack from 1 space away so I get the attack bonus. So it's going to be 3 per hit. It'll kill him in the same number of actions, because I had to move first. But it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So he'll die again. And I am going to take his space. Since they've got nothing on the board right now, I'm going to move this guy into range where he can just move in there next turn and start attacking their keep. Yeah. Yep. So they're going to pass. Zombies are going to get an army counter. And yeah, like I said, they're going to have to draw a card here. So my first action is going to be to shuffle, because I want something better than that Shambling Zombie. Oh no, I got another one. Okay, second action, shuffle. Okay, I got another Crusher, that's fine. So, where to put him? I'm actually going to put him right here. Yep. And I'm going to pass back to the dwarves. Now they'll get an army counter. And again, they have a bit of a decision to make, because I do have this warehouse here that can spend an action to double up my draw action, which means I would only have 1 other action to play with, really. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to back off with this ranger. I'm going to drop him right there. I'm going to use his movement to come back to this center space in front of the keep. Second action is going to be to activate the warehouse's effect. It's going to deal 1 damage to itself, so he'll go down to 3. And this will be the first time I've actually had to track HP this game. Yeah, I use these D6s for that, just to track how much HP a card currently has. Yeah, so far, anytime I've declared an attack, it's been with the intention of fully destroying the card that's being attacked this turn, so I haven't had to stop and track HP just yet. But yeah, that's going to be 1, 2, and then 3 is going to be to draw 2 cards. So first, I'm going to get this Dwarf Explorer. I'm going to put her over here. And I'm going to get this, ooh, the Tavern. That's a good one. I'm going to put it over here on the right, I think, as well. So this one, if a dwarf in the battlefield would be destroyed, I can destroy this instead. And then if that card was less than 2 HP, it gets set to 2. So, pretty good defensive tool to protect a card in the battlefield. But yeah, that's going to be the dwarf's turn. Boop. Pass back to the zombies. And they are going to get an army counter, so they've got a bit of an action economy Nova to play with, if they so choose. I don't think they really have a good way to go with it just currently, though. So, I am going to move the Crusher Zombie up, get him into a more aggressive position since the dwarves fell back into a defensive one. And then I like that orc, so second and final action is going to be to draw him off the top of the deck. And I will just drop him right here, also pretty aggressively, and just pass the turn back. Zombies are just going to try and get set up again. So, it's Dwarf's turn. They get an army counter. Oops. And they do have another structure on top, which is another one of the ones that helps you draw more structures. I do have to be cognizant of that orc, because it can kill the keep in 3 attacks. Like, because he'll be up to 8 attack when he's attacking the keep, and that'll be 5 damage a swing, like it was before. So if that orc gets in with 3 more attacks on the keep, that's all she wrote. I would like to try and set the stage for a potential structure victory if I can. Yeah, the trouble here is that either of these guys can move up and then 2-tap either of these. So if I pass back to them, they can really get aggressive and start coming after the units I've got back here. But I also don't really have a great offensive answer currently to, like, pressure them either. Little bit of a tricky situation for the dwarves here. They've got a structure on top. I could roll the dice and hope that the card under that is something that's going to be, like, offensively or defensively useful against these cards. And I do have that Tavern as well. So yeah, what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to move the Explorer up to be a defensive bulwark against the Orc in particular. Because if the Orc tries to destroy this card, I can kill the Tavern down here instead. So that's going to delay the zombie's offensive ability. And then I'm going to roll the bones on whatever is under that other warehouse there. So I'm going to do 1 more damage to this warehouse. I'm going to use its effect to 1 damage to itself, and I draw 2. So yeah, it's going to be 1, 2, and then 3 is going to be to draw 2 cards over here. So this will go there. Then I've got a Wizard. Ooh. So he ignores the defending card's defense. That's a pretty good offensive answer to either of these guys. Because he can 2-tap either of them without even pointing to them. The question then becomes, where do I put him? I could put him right here and just be in a position to defensively respond to either of these 2 spaces, basically. Or I could put him over here behind the Explorer, so if the Orc tries to crash through there and kill the Explorer, Wizard's right behind her, and it's going to counter kill the orc there. I think that's probably the better play. Yeah, I'm going to plop him right there. Yep. And then I will just keep the army counters there and pass. Yep. Because I just drew, so that had to be my last action. Boop. Boop. So the zombies get another army counter. And let's see what they can pull out of their bag of tricks. Once again, I definitely think the dwarves have... Yeah, they've got one more in their discard, so Crusher Zombie is not currently activated. Yet again. Yeah, this is tricky. I think the only thing to do here is to be very straightforward and aggressive. I'm just going to have the orc start swinging at the explorer. So it's going to be 1-2, which would normally kill her. That'll be the first 2 actions, is 2 attacks there. Because those will be doing 3 damage a swing. First would take her down to 2, second would take her down to 0. And that'll be the dwarves' decision. Do they pop the tavern to protect the explorer for another attack? And I think the answer is yes. I'm going to kill the tavern. That sets me a card back on the structure victory, but it is going to force the zombies here to use another action to kill the explorer if they want. Right now the explorer's back at 2 HP from the tavern's effect. I don't know whether I need to go grab a dice to track that yet or not, because I don't know if the zombies are going to keep going. I think they have to. Yeah, zombies' next move is going to be to kill the explorer. So that'll be their 3rd action. So that'll die. Whoops. And now I have to decide whether the orc wants to take its space or not. Because like I said, if it does, wizard can just kill it in 2 attacks. The counter-argument there is, if you don't, the wizard can move up and kill you in 2 attacks. And then it'll be right in position to attack the keep, or, get aggressive there. So I think the only thing to do is to take the space. That'll be their 3rd action. And now the decision is, do you draw a card, spend some army counters to get, like I said, that was 3. So do you spend the 3 army counters to draw a card? Do you spend the 3 to make an attack with the orc against one of these guys? Because you could get the wizard down to 1 HP. Again, it's the mage that is sitting there. And it could eventually do 5 damage to the other keep if it gets to activate its attack 5 times. Effect 5 times. It would also do 5 damage to your keep, but right now, got more, so... But that's a lot of actions. Usually this is better, like, at the end of the game, where the other keep only has, like, 2 or 3 HP, and you can just finish them off that way. This is a tough one. You know what? I'm gonna move to spend the 3 army counters. 1, 2, 3. To get another action. That actually puts the onus on the dwarves now, because they have 3 to spend to counter that. Do they want to? Or do they want to save it for their own offensive maneuver? Because right now, and I'm trying not to... I'm trying to play both sides evenly here. My intention was going to be to play this card off the top of my deck. I was going to use that action to draw. I'm going to have the dwarves save theirs. I'm going to have them save theirs. So I am going to get that 4th action with the zombies, and they're going to draw this mage. I'm going to put it right there, behind the orc. Yep. Okay, so that's how zombies go. Back to the dwarves. Boop, they get an army counter. And let's see here. They do have another structure on top. It's a pretty good one. It can apply a global buff to either attack or defense for a turn. Well, first two actions are going to be the wizard is going to kill the orc there. He's going to do his little piercing damage that ignores defense, and since he points, he's going to be doing 4 damage an attack. So he's going to 2-tap that orc. So bop bop. So that's done. And he is going to be defensive, I think, and not move up, because the zombie mage there can 2-tap the wizard. So if he wants to do that, gonna make him work for it. Spend the movement first to get in position. So the wizard's gonna be defensive. He's gonna stay put. So that's 1, 2 to kill the orc. 3. I think I'm gonna activate the warehouse's effect for 3, and then 4 is gonna be I'm gonna spend the 3 army counters and draw 2. So yeah, let's resolve that. 1, 2, 3 to get another action. Let's get another dice out here. Put this guy to 3. So he's going to use action number 3 to deal damage to himself. I get to draw 2 with my draw this turn. And then action 4, spend the army counters to draw 2. So the smithy is going to go there. And then I have a swordsman, which I am going to put... Ooh, they've got their stronghold as their next card up. That's a game changer. I think right here or right here. Maybe even over here. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna block this lane. I mean, well, no, because then he's not really gonna point to anything that way. But he'll be at 7 attack if he hasn't moved. I'm just gonna put him here. I'm gonna put him there, and that'll be that. So that was the dwarves go. Gonna pass back to the zombies. And once again, they are getting out-resourced by a pretty considerable margin. They got 2 cards out to the dwarves' 6 right now. And yeah, like I was saying before, if they want to get aggressive, they're going to have to spend a lot of actions to do it. Like, this mage here could move up and then 2-tap the wizard, or for that matter, the ranger, I think, as well. No, actually, he doesn't point to the ranger, so he'd need 3. But the crusher zombie could move up and 2-tap the ranger. However, okay, I think that's still 7-5, so yeah, the crusher zombie doesn't have his attack boost, so he can't. There's nothing that the zombies can do this turn to get rid of the swordsman completely either. So that puts them in a bit of an awkward position, because he'll have a really strong counterattack, because he'll be at 7 attack because he hasn't moved. I think the zombies are going to be a little bit passive here. And I'm just going to use the zombie mage's effect twice and then draw. So he's going to do 2 damage to himself, 2 damage to... and 2 damage to both keeps. So he's going to go down to 3. There we go. Then this keep is going to go down to 18. And then that one will go down to 13. I'll do that when I switch back. And then this guy can come out. I'll put him there. So that'll be 1, 2, 3 on their side, and they'll pass. And yeah, like I said, this guy also goes down to 13. Boop. So the dwarf's turn. First thing, they get an army counter. And they're in a pretty good spot here. They've got a good defensive wall right now. They're putting the onus on the zombies to be aggressive, and the zombies don't have a good line for that right now. So I'm just going to continue to be defensive with them. And I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to activate the smithy, Give all of these guys 1 defense. Second action, I'm going to spend activating the warehouse's ability to take a damage and draw 2 with the draw. Then third action, I'm just going to draw 2. First one is going to be the Dwarven Stronghold, and then there's another... Ooh, they are in sight of a structure victory. I think this is about to go the Dwarves' way. We'll have to see what the zombies can possibly pull off here. Because, yeah, this Stronghold is the Dwarven 6-drop. You can only have one of them in a deck. This is the Dwarves one, and it's an additional keep. So you have to kill this and the keep to get the victory for destroying your opponent's keep. Additionally, it counts as a structure for the structure victory, and it's 1 turn away right now. So yeah, all these dwarves have 1 defense, and yeah, this is not looking good for the zombies. Yeah, so there is precious little they can do. I mean, they're going to get an army counter, which they don't have enough to spend, so it's not going to matter. They have 5 to 7, so this guy's not on. Plus, these guys are all sitting at 1 more defense. Yeah, there's just not much they can do. Tell you what they are going to do is the only real viable move. 1, 2, 3. Take no attacks, but get in the best aggressive position they can for next turn. It's not going to matter, though. Because what's going to happen here is they're going to have to pass. Dwarves get an army counter to tap everything off. And then it's going to be 1, 2. This wizard is going to just double tap the haunted zombie there. So he'll die. And then I'm going to go ahead and spend these army counters for another action. Just go all out. Action 3 of now 4 is going to be to do the smithy again, give everybody 1 defense again. And then action 4 is going to be to draw this warehouse. And now the structure victory is live. They're going to win at the end of the zombies' next turn. The zombies get 1 more turn to try and kill one of these structures to keep the game going. And I don't know if they can do it. Can they? Can you kill the smithy from there? With they're going to get an army counter. Maybe they can, actually. Maybe I should have... Okay, wait. This might not be as over as I thought. Because they are going to have an army counter. All these units are going to have an extra defense, but crucially, the structures will not. Because this gives allied dwarf cards stuff, and all of the structures are dwarven. Very different. So I could bring the crusher zombie over here with 1, and then 2 and 3 could be 2 tapping that smithy. Yeah. So, yeah, okay. So this is going to keep going. Very close, though. Very close. Now the zombies do have something to figure out, though, because do you draw here? Do you attack one of these other ones? I think you have to attack one of the other ones. Yeah, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3 is going to kill the smithy, because that was going to be 2 damage a swing. And then 4, I'll go for this warehouse, actually, and kill it as well. So I won't need that. This will die. And I'm going to take its position as well. Put as much pressure on the doors as possible. So that was, yeah, 1, 2, 3. And then spend the army counters for 4. Yeah. Put this back in the bowl. Okay, so game continues. And this is why that rule is the way it is. It's so that the structure victory isn't instantaneous. You get an an opportunity to respond. And like, situations like that are exactly why I designed it that way. Okay, so the dwarves do, however, get an army counter, and yeah, they're gonna have to figure some stuff out. They've got 9 cards left in their deck. Top is another structure, so they've got the ability to rebuild here. So I think it's going to have to be this Swordsman is just going to 2-tap this Crusher Zombie here, because it's 7 on 4, so that'll be 3 a pop. So it's going to be 1-2, since he hasn't moved. He's getting that attack bonus, so into the discard you go. And then 3 is going to be this Wizard killing that Mage. So they're going to spend their entire turn just clearing the board for the next couple of turns. So they'll pass there. And that might have been the actual, like, lethal turning point. Because now the zombies are going to have to spend their whole turn rebuilding. And they can get 2 cards out here. Because one of these is this Haunted Zombie. So I can remove another zombie from my discard to play him. So I'll do that for my first action. I'm going to play him there. And then I will move this Crusher Zombie out of there. Remove him from play to activate that effect. And then, again, the dog is okay. Yeah, it kind of builds on itself. If you want to get multiple copies of that between play and the discards. And I've only got the 1 so far, right? Yeah. So I might... See, the thing is, I don't know. I'm not going to shuffle. No. 1 is going to be play the Haunted, and then 2 and final is going to be play the dog. So they're building their board back up, but that's basically, that's what they got. So the dwarves are going to... See, this guy can 1-tap that Haunted Zombie. So he's going to do that. 1, 2, kill the Haunted Zombie. So the Haunted Zombie is going to have to use his effect again to replay himself to try and get things turned around. So that's 1, 2, and then 3 is going to be play this top card, Dwarven Tower. And then the next one is another structure. Ooh. Ooh. So that was 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, they get an army counter as well. Oops. And then we'll pass. Army counter. And yeah, second verse is going to be the same as the first. I'm going to play this Haunted Zombie with an action by getting rid of... Well, I guess I'll just do this Mage. Doesn't really matter. So that'll be 1. And then I think 2 and 3 are going to have to be the Haunted Zombie going after the Wizard. Yeah, 2, 3. Kill him. And I'm going to take the space. I'm going to be as aggressive as I possibly can. Then we're going to have to pass back. So there's that. Now, however, the dwarves have a little bit of offense here. Yeah, so I'm just going to spend... See, I could do this 2 different ways. Yeah, I'm just going to have the Ranger double tap him, actually. Yeah, it's 6 on 4. No, that's 5. 5, 5, 5. So I am going to have to use the tower, because it just does flat 2. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the tower is going to use its effect twice to deal 1 damage to itself and 2 damage to the Haunted Zombie. So that's going to be 1, 2. Haunted Zombie will die again. This guy's going to go down to 3. There we go. That's 1, 2, and then 3 is just going to be to draw this, activate the structure victory, and I think that will be the game. Yeah. Even though the dog can move 3 spaces, it's just not going to have the mobility to do anything about that. Yeah, I don't think so anyway. Well, before I pass, let me... Well, no, I already passed. Let's just play this out. Let's see if they have an out. Maybe if the dwarves had a way to stop it then that they didn't use, then that'll just be on them. Okay, so here we are. Dog is at 6 attack because it gets 1 attack for every zombie dog in play, including itself, and right now it's the only one. There aren't any in the discards. It also gets 1 for that. So it can also move 3 spaces, so it can like come 1, 2, 3, and it can kind of come in at a diagonal. That won't get it close to any structures, though. So what it should actually do is 1, 6 on 4. Yeah, 2, 3 is going to be moving. Yeah. See, the dwarves should have looked. They should have seen the ranger in danger. That rhymed. Because yeah, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 to kill the ranger. Oh, but it's still not going to be enough. Because yeah, it's going to be 2, 3, 6 on 4 that points, so it's going to be 3 damage a pop, and that will kill him. And they will occupy with their 3rd action. Then they're going to attempt to spend some army counters to get another attack. But the dwarves have 3 too, so they're going to spend theirs to prevent it. So the dog is not going to be able to attack that tower, which would have prevented the structure victory for another turn. Unfortunate for the zombies. They came close. They were scratching and clawing to stay in this the whole time. And yeah, there was that turn early on where if the dwarves hadn't been able to kill that orc, it would have been game over next turn. So, you know, they were that close to victory. But that is going to be all she wrote, because that's the end of the zombies' turn, which activates the structure victory. That seals the deal. Dwarves win. They built all the buildings. Wow. Yeah, that was quite a back and forth affair. That was pretty interesting game. Yeah, so that was one of the longer test games I've ever done. I don't know how much of that is just me trying to overthink things to be entertaining on a video, and how much of it was just, you know, what cards these decks drew. But yeah, that's Blitzkeep. I thought that was a pretty cool game. A lot of back and forth, a lot of interesting moving parts going on there. The structure victory is actually pretty rare. Like, you rarely see that. Because for one thing, you have to build a deck to even be able to accomplish it in the first place. For another thing, it takes several turns to set up. And like I said, like earlier on, zombies had the game in the bag on their next turn if that orc hadn't been able to be dealt with. So usually that's the way games end, is somebody breaks through and kills the keep. That's the most common victory type. But it's always cool to see a structure victory. Yeah, I implemented that just for the variety. Like, you know, alternate victory conditions are just an interesting thing in general. So cool to see him actually happen, actually be viable. But anyway, I'm just kind of I'm a little in my head right now, thinking about different card effects and like maybe some design changes I might do to X, Y, or Z, and yeah. But so it's kind of distracting me from being able to close this video properly, which I will do right now by saying thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. So check out Blitzkeep when it does go on the Steam Workshop. I'll probably make a community post about that. letting you know it's live, and or I'll just make another video. So, keep a watch out for that. And yep, I'll see you next time. Later.